So the new Spyro remake came out, so we decided to check out the last Spyro game released that bombed the franchise into an 8-year hiatus. We may review the first 2 games in the Legends series, but we never want to make this one into a full review, as we could not play the game past halfway through the first level. So let's introduce a new series to the channel called Why We Aren't Reviewing It. This series will be a little more laid back and tackle games we don't completely want to review for various reasons. This means we will only be judging them off what we've played, and not to the end, mainly because we couldn't bear it anywhere near that far.
Okay, we'll be honest, we sort of just talked over the whole story when playing it, but I'm pretty sure we can just assume that it sucked anyway. Like, I remember there being the mascot dude from the Flamin' Hot Cheetos, and he had a bow and arrow? He got around the levels within seconds and didn't help us out, so he's kind of a dick. Angus and I played what was actually the main selling point of this game, the multiplayer, or more accurately, 2-player mode. Funnily enough, even though that was the main selling point of the game, it was actually the worst part about it, so great job, Etrongeslibellules? Nailed it! The 2-player mode isn't split screen, which would be fine if there just wasn't so much going on. It was really hard to keep track of what was happening, and for me playing my first Spyro game, I was so confused. Sometimes I even forgot what dragon I was. Oh yeah, I should mention there's actually another dragon that isn't Spyro, and he is called... oh Jesus. She is called... Cinder?
Hey, you know what you would call the Flintstones if they were black? You'd call them
Alright, thank you YouTube. Spyro and Cinder are bound together by an electric rope. Literally, they add this as part of the plot, as if there is a spell on them which they need to break, which is just really lazy, and it comes with so many glitches. It also creates problems as you can't go further than a meter away from each other without the tether just making you both immobile. Kind of like an annoying child. The game has an AI that can help you in a lot of places, such as quick flying to your friend if he's on another platform, but other times it has a mind of its own and just makes you do a 180-degree turn and fall into the abyss. The controls aren't too bad. Well, they're average at best. Actually, no, they are pretty terrible. You pretty much just button mash until you kill the incredibly weak enemies. Okay, so combat controls are bad. What about the controls for flying? Another fundamental part of the game. Yeah, it'd be nice to say you are the one controlling the flying. You pretty much just spam A and move the left stick slightly and pray that you land on the platform that you are hoping for. But watch out, because there'll be a 2-second QuickTime event when you touch down.
With the visuals, everything looks clean and crisp in 1080p, except the cutscenes, which look to be ripped off the Wii version or something, as they do not match the rest of the game on the 360. It's a horrible upscaled mess. If they are the only things really classifying your game as story-driven, then you are making a mistake. The video you are seeing actually looks higher quality than what was displayed on my TV. It's quite odd, but maybe it's just due to it being fresh signal straight from the Xbox to the Elgato capture, I don't know. With good visuals, the gameplay can suffer. As we mentioned, it's sometimes hard to follow your character with everything going on screen, but when you can clearly see what's going on, which is as rare as a Call of Duty game improving on the last, it's quite nice. The music was alright. We weren't really listening to it that much as we were talking the whole time, but it has some pretty decent orchestrated tracks that are way too good for what we played of it.
Some issues that we had with this game that we didn't mention earlier are in the movement in the game itself, the main menu, and the inconsistency with jumping, to name a few. Moving in this game is terrible. The AI can take over, you can hit your head on random things, but worst of all, moving to and from the camera. The game has this awful camera perspective that makes it really hard to move in a 3D space. You can barely tell where you were on the Z-axis, and because of this, I would fall off platforms all the time. The main menu only had 2 options, New Game and Load Game. As soon as you picked one of those, only then would other options show up, but the only useful one was the back to main menu, to be fully honest. There was also this weird thing where you press A to jump off a vine, and when Spyro did it, he backflipped and fell off the platform, but when Cinder did it, she just fell naturally and actually onto the platform. Also, Spyro has a normal power of breathing fire and a sort of weird one with breathing ice and a couple of others, right? Well, Cinder can breathe poison, fear, wind, and shadow? What? Also, there are these unnecessary parts of levels that you can explore that don't lead anywhere. We only found this out as we didn't know where to go on a certain level as there was no clear indicator at all. So we just searched everywhere and we found these small paths. And they're all just a waste of space and game design. It can sound like we are nitpicking at the moment, but with all of these small things, they can add up and it becomes a huge mess. Especially when these things are tied to the most fundamental functions of the game.
In short, we will not be reviewing this game ever on the channel because it's bad. Good night.